Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Freaky Tales, the action comedy film written and directed by Ann Bolden and Ryan Fleck. Freaky Tales is a film that depicts four interconnected stories taking place at real locations and during real historical events in 1987 Oakland, California. This film stars Pedro Pascal, Middleton, and Jay Ellis. I was super anticipating this film because I am a big anthology film lover. I love movies that have different stories, going back to Twilight Zone, the movie, and Creep Show and Creep Show Part 2, stuff like that, where you have basically mini movies all wrapped up in one. And, I feel like you kind of cheat the system that way, in my mind. I'm like, man, I'm getting 3 or 4 different movies with one viewing. Yeah, I'm winning here. And that's why I love them so much. And when I found out that this was a anthology film, I was like, okay, you have Pedro Pascal involved. All right. He is the flavor of the, well, not month. He's the flavor of the decade, it seems like. Pedro Pascal is in everything that we love, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or video game adaptations as of late. I mean, he's everywhere. He's all over the place, and he's amazing in everything. And so sign me up for that. The directors of this film, Ann Bolden and Ryan Fleck, who have a pretty decent track record going back to Have Nelson, to Mississippi Grind, and as their last film, they worked with Marvel with Captain Marvel, which made $1 billion. And I know that film is a little divisive, but I felt it was decent. It wasn't the greatest thing on earth by no stretch of the imagination, but it was decent. Definitely better than D Marvels, the sequel that they didn't return to direct. And I think that probably hurt that film a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. Freaky Tales is, I would say, a grand mixture of Stranger Things meets Pulp Fiction. That's what this is. And it is nowhere near those two in good quality, I would say. But as far as being a fun watch, it is. It's a fun watch, entertaining watch. I had fun with these characters. I feel like everybody had a good time making this movie. This just looked like a film that everybody involved just hopped on board to have a good time. And, you just go on a ride with them. As far as it being a good movie, I wouldn't say it's good. I'll just say it's fun. The story just, it really didn't connect with me, and I'm saying that as kind of a positive, oddly enough. This film is a love letter to the Bay. I think this is a love letter to Oakland, with the locations and the characters involved. And, it just felt like a tour of 1987 Oakland, and it felt authentic in that way. And for that, I greatly appreciate it. For that, I give it a big thumbs up because, a lot of films feel, when it's set in a certain period of time and a certain location, it can feel generic. It can feel, I don't know, just fake, all out fake, if I can put it plainly. But this doesn't feel that way. This does feel like 87 Oakland, even though I'd never been there. And I wasn't there in 1987, and to know about half of the things that took place, because all 4 stories here is kind of based on historical facts. I mean, it's heightened to the 100th degree here, because this film has this kind of a sci-fi subplot involved with it, but which it does eventually get somewhere, but throughout the duration of this film, it really is not a main factor. It does play a main factor in one of the stories, maybe two, but overall, it wasn't the driving force of this movie. But you script that away, and some of the things that happen in this film does take place. You know, the Garmin place, the place where the punks in the first story on Garmin Street, this warehouse where they've kind of converted into a punk rock, alternative rock, heavy metal rock venue, and it was attacked by white supremacists. You know, these neo-Nazi people. Well, apparently that was a thing back then. You know, it was an actual thing. But here it's shown in a fantastical way. But it was enough to make me wonder, did this really, is there something to this? You know, are they just twisting the truth? And it helped in that way because I was like, man, that is something I would look up, you know, something I would look into. And sure enough, it was a real thing. You know, I didn't know about it back then. Of course, I was what, 8, 9 years old when that happened. So I wouldn't know. So, around that time, I didn't know what was going on down the street from my house. If it wasn't on TV, I didn't care. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Incorporating Sleepy Floyd, who was a real basketball player who really did play for the Golden State Warriors around that time. Also cool, you know, it's also cool. Having Too Short involved in this film, the rapper, in case you don't know, having him involved with this, also amazing to me. Not only as the narrator of this film, but he pops up in a cameo. There's a actor playing him from 1987 in the film, so he's a big part. We all know, at least those who are fans of his music, know that he was a big part of the rap hip hop culture around this era of time. And from Oakland, California, also from Oakland, California, is the artist who provided the score, and that is Raphael Sadiq. For those of us who love R&B music, for the past 30, close to 40 years, Raphael Sadiq is from the a group Tony, and he's also had a awesome solo career as well. He did the music for this film, and so this feels super Oakland authentic. You know, it is super Bay Area heavy. You know, now the directors of this film, they're from Massachusetts, which is probably about as far as you can get from Oakland as possible. But that just makes you appreciate this even more because they really meant this to be a love letter to this city, this area, this community. And, you know, I did like it, even though I know nothing of this community, never lived there or nothing, but I appreciate it. You know, I would love to know what people from Oakland, the Oakland area, the San Francisco area, what they felt about this film if they saw it. You know, how did they feel about this film? And especially if they grew up around the 80s, late 80s, does this feel like Oakland to them? It did to me, you know, outside of the fantasticalness of it. As far as the performances, Pedro Pascal, as great as he is, this is the only time you probably hear this come out my mouth. He did not fit this movie because he had an awesome performance and it was so cool, so good that it just didn't fit this movie. This movie was comedic, you know, it was sci-fi-ish, and it didn't deserve such a rich performance as this. And you know, I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek. You know, I'm not trying to denigrate the film by saying, oh, this is a piece of trash. He didn't, how is this beneath Pedro Pascal? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying with this material, it just didn't feel like it needed a great performance. Now, this isn't one of his top 5 greatest performances. I'm not saying that, but he really went in this to work. This wasn't a paycheck for him, you know. He really gave a good performance, and none of the actors gave a paycheck performance. Even Ben Middleton, who I guess you could probably look at it and say this film is beneath him as well, but it's not. And he's worked with these two directors on Captain Marvel, and so he's familiar with them. And I think he did an awesome performance. He was the villain, or at least one of the villains in this movie, and he really gave a chilling performance in the little time that he had on screen, and it just drew a greater appreciation to his work as well. Jay Ellis, who is playing Sleepy Floyd in this movie, I liked him. I really did. I liked him. The only knock I have, I wish they would have had him in here more. You know, sprinkled in different parts of these stories, different stories throughout. He was in a way, but it was just a little more I'd like to see from him and his character. But I did enjoy it. There's one performance in here that I can't mention that is probably the best performance in the film. I mean, just hands down, the actor in his role and his monologue that he goes on is top tier. It was top tier. Didn't even know he was in the movie. Didn't know he was going to play this role. And he straight up killed it. I was like, man, why is he in here? And I definitely said, oh, this is a paycheck for him. No. No. It was just the most random cameo you could ever expect. And he was in this movie. But I loved he was in it. And I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to get the same joy I got when he popped up. And so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, overall, I think this was pretty good. It was a fun watch. Not going to set the world on fire. There's nothing to write home, tell mama about. But if you just looking for an hour and a half, close to what I think is an hour and 45 minutes this movie is. If you want to turn your brain off for an hour and 45 minutes, there you go. Just sit down and have a good time with it. Freaky Tales is the one for you. Freaky Tales gets a letter grade of a C+. Yeah, it was surprisingly fun. I was hoping for more. I was hoping for, that Pulp Fiction kind of sci-fi element mixed in, to kind of bump it up, but it didn't. It didn't quite get there, but I did have a good time with it. I would like to know, did you check out Freaky Tales, and what did you think of the movie? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Freaky Tales. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.